There is a kind of pain people almost never confess. Everything looks fine, but inside, something feels missing. No crisis, no disaster, no obvious reason to break. And yet, you still feel empty. Be honest. Have you ever looked at your life and thought, why doesn't this feel like enough? That feeling is not random. It is not weakness. And it is not because you are ungrateful. It is a warning. Your life may be functioning, but your mind is not connected to it. Most people think emptiness only shows up after loss, after failure, after heartbreak, after everything falls apart. But sometimes emptiness appears when life is stable, when the bills are paid, when the outside looks normal, when people would call your life good. That is what makes it so confusing. Because from the outside, nothing seems wrong. But inside, you feel disconnected, distant, unmoved. Like you are watching your own life from behind glass. And the worst part is this. You cannot explain it without sounding ungrateful. So you stay quiet. You keep functioning. You keep smiling. You keep doing what is expected. That the emptiness stays. Most people will never admit this, but they know the feeling. They wake up tired even after sleeping. They scroll through a life that looks full, but feels hollow. They chase small distractions just to avoid hearing their own thoughts. They stay busy because silence feels too honest. Have you noticed that? When life gets quiet, the emptiness gets louder. That is because emptiness is often not about lack. It is about disconnection. Disconnection from meaning. Disconnection from yourself. Disconnection from any feeling that your life actually belongs to you. You can have routine, comfort, and safety, and still feel empty if your life has become mechanical. Wake up, work, eat, scroll, repeat, same faces, same habits, and slowly, without noticing, your life starts to feel like something you maintain instead of something you live. That is where the numbness begins. Not in one dramatic moment, but in thousands of tiny moments where you abandon what felt real. Maybe you stopped saying what you really think. Maybe you kept shrinking yourself to stay accepted. Maybe you built a life that looked right on paper, but never touched the part of you that wanted to feel alive. That is why success does not always fix emptiness, because achievement is not the same as meaning. Attention is not the same as connection. Comfort is not the same as fulfillment, and your mind knows the difference. That is why even good days can still feel empty. The truth is, many people are surviving a life they never fully chose. They inherited expectations. They followed the script. They did what they were supposed to do. They became useful, responsible, reliable. But somewhere along the way, they disappeared a little. Not physically, psychologically. They got so good at keeping life together that they forgot how to feel it. That is the hidden cost of constantly performing. You become efficient, but not alive. You become functional, but not fulfilled. You become admired, but not known. And the emptiness grows in that gap. Because the human mind does not only need safety, it needs meaning, it needs truth, it needs moments that feel emotionally real. Without that, even a good life can start to feel like a room you no longer belong in. And this is where many people misunderstand themselves. They think the answer is more success, more money, more attention, more things. But often, the answer is not more. It is deeper. Deeper honesty, deeper presence, deeper alignment with who you actually are when no one is watching. Here is the unsettling part. Sometimes emptiness is not a sign that your life is broken. It is a sign that your life is too far from your inner truth. That is why you feel it most when you slow down. Because once the noise fades, the gap becomes visible. The gap between the life you built and the life your soul is asking for. Most people are terrified of that gap, so they fill it with noise. They keep their phone close. They keep their schedule full. They keep their emotions buried under stimulation. Because if they stop moving, they might have to admit something painful. I do not actually know what I want anymore. That admission can feel scary, but it is also where awakening begins. Because emptiness is not always a dead end. Sometimes it is an alarm, a quiet internal signal saying, "This life is too small for the real version of you." That is the revelation. You are not empty because you are broken. You are empty because some part of you has been starving. Starving for meaning, starving for honesty, starving for a life that does not require you to fake being okay. And once you understand that, the emptiness stops being a mystery. It becomes information. So what do you do with it? First, stop insulting yourself for feeling it. Do not call yourself lazy. Do not call yourself dramatic. Do not call yourself ungrateful. That only pushes you deeper into silence. Instead, ask the harder question. What part of me have I been ignoring? That question changes everything. Because the emptiness is often pointing to something specific. Maybe you are exhausted from living for other people's approval. Maybe you never gave yourself permission to want more. Maybe your life is full of activity, but empty of intention. Maybe you keep surviving instead of choosing. Be honest, which one feels true? Second, start paying attention to what gives you a real sense of life. Not just pleasure, not just distraction. Something deeper. A conversation that feels real. A moment of stillness that does not feel unbearable. A task that makes you feel present. A truth you have been avoiding. Tiny moments of alignment matter more than big declarations, because emptiness does not heal through fantasy. It heals through contact. Contact with your own emotions, contact with what matters, contact with the parts of you that got buried under performance. And third, stop waiting to feel inspired before you reconnect with your life. That is a trap. Most people think clarity comes first. It does not. Clarity often comes after honesty, after discomfort, after you stop pretending the numbness is normal. Once you face it, you begin to see what has been missing. And that is where the transformation starts. Not with hype, not with a perfect plan, with a single decision. I am done living disconnected from myself. That is the moment your life starts becoming yours again. Not when everything becomes easy, but when you stop betraying what is true just to keep everything looking fine. Because a life can be beautiful and still feel empty when the person living it has gone missing. And maybe that is the real reason you feel this way. Not because your life is bad, but because some part of you knows it could be real, deeper, more honest, more alive. And until you listen to that feeling, the emptiness will keep speaking for you. Sometimes emptiness is not the absence of a good life, it is the absence of you inside it.